Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and again, thank you to the witnesses for joining us today. Chairman Appel, just a couple of questions from your testimony and the experiences that we've shared. Could you talk a little bit about the long-term contracts that you mentioned, natural gas, and how does the ability to enter into long-term contracts help with certainty in pricing for utilities?
Thank you, Congressman. We could not have, excuse me, developed clean air, clean jobs without a long-term contract. We had to take the volatility out. And so when we developed the program with this long-term contract, it just gave us that opportunity to have the smooth glide path for the next 10 years. And we don't anticipate any type of rate impact. In fact, we entered into a multi-year rate case with Public Service Company of Colorado with only a 5% increase in rates for the next 3 years.
And I believe it was Mr. Burgess from Texas who talked about just the differences between Colorado's unique needs, Texas's uniqueness, and just the variety of the states and the differences between the geography and mountains versus plains. And so when we came up with the solutions unique to Colorado, I think that's important. And you hear people talk about the stack solution, single stack solutions versus letting a state do a broader whole approach. And so I guess what I'm leading into is this: when you have a rule that allows you to make a decision for a state, that's a better way than individualizing, targeting specific sites. Is that correct?
I agree with you completely. It has to be a system benefit. If we did not look at the full suite of the older plants, the gas availability, including the energy efficiency opportunities, the program could not have gone forward.
And so Colorado's best equipped to make decisions for Colorado, just as Texas is best equipped to make decisions for Texas.
Well, I think the basic point is the West is the best, and I'd be pleased to brag about it, but absolutely.
I wholeheartedly agree with you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, yeah. And that's with the rest of to the point of allowing a holistic solution versus a stack specific. Would everybody else agree on the panel that that's the better way to proceed?
Yes.
Thank you. And you talk a little bit about greenhouse gas reductions. You indicate in your testimony that greenhouse gas reductions must establish targets that are achievable through this suite of strategies tailored specifically to a state, and in a state with vertically integrated utility, or by a region in an organized market. Do you think that the proposals we see from this administration have done that?
You know, we have not yet seen the existing source rule, which to me is the critical rule that all of us are concerned about. I mean, clearly in Colorado, we've addressed regional haze, at least for our investor-owned utilities, mercury or toxics. This is the biggest wild card. But I think if we have a sensible scope and sensible slope, actually, and length of time, it's manageable. But that really has to be, it'll have to be driven by the state once EPA or the Congress defines that goal.
And you talked a little bit about, in addition to the cooperation that we have in Colorado, we also had a very cooperative process on our regional haze issue in the SIP that we developed, bipartisan support. But we've seen now several groups in Colorado who have that chose not to participate in the process despite its wide bipartisan support. Wild Earth Guardians, National Parks Conservation Association have sought to upend the process of the SIP that we got through bipartisan efforts. Through the PUC, do you support the Colorado Regional Haze SIP in its entirety?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then if you agree, then you agree that the Department of Justice and EPA should defend the SIP in its entirety and should oppose modifications, which could be entering into a consent decree if that's what they would end up pursuing, that change the balanced approach agreed to by the diverse parties involved. You'd agree that the Department of Justice ought to defend the whole thing?
Well, I'm reluctant to ever tell the Department of Justice what to do, but I think Colorado did as fine a job as possible on regional haze, and clearly EPA supported it. I mean, they turned around the approval of our state implementation plan as quickly as possible. I mean, it's in record time.
And did this administration consult with Texas, Colorado? I'll ask all of you. Did the administration consult with your state before issuing rules like Utility MACT?
Not at all. Let me just add, Congressman, quickly, SO2, NOx, particulate matter, CO2 down to 1992 levels in Texas in the face of a growing economy without cap and trade.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman Appel?